Hey there,
Hey
everybody. Welcome to Adobe Live. I'm Ryan Hamrick. I was here just a little bit ago doing some drawing, and now I am back once again with Hannah Jiang. And she is going to be diving super deep into some Adobe XD stuff. We talked a lot yesterday about kind of like some of the design thinking behind why we make certain choices as far as like web design and stuff goes. And we did a lot of that important precursor work of thinking through some of the things that could be better and some of the things we wish we could fix. And then today we're going to be doing some of that fixing. So I'm super excited to watch that. And kind of the thing that we're talking about along the way is kind of like some design system stuff, right? And then kind of tying in a cohesive overall feeling and elements and resources to kind of it can create that consistency across the thing that you're doing, whether that's in the apps, on the website itself, all that kind of stuff. So what's up, chat? I like to see a lot of these familiar names that I'm seeing in there. What's up, Sarah? Val's in there, just filling the chat with awesomeness. We got Anna, we've got Ariana. Welcome, everybody. So keep active in there and keep talking to us and ask your questions. I'm gonna be kind of keeping a close eye on that so we can relay those good questions to Hannah as she moves along and does some awesome stuff in here and shows us some magic tricks in Adobe XD. And we've got a full day planned so far today. It's been an awesome one so far that I've been lucky enough to be a part of a lot of it. But let's take a look at what else is happening today. We started out this morning with the Photoshop Design Challenge, or the Daily Creative Challenge rather, with Jesus. And then we did the drawing and painting session with me and my lovely host Erica. And we did some painting and stuff and checked out some cool brushes. And then we had Sam just before us talking about some map designs for the XD Daily Creative Challenge that's going on today. And we're going to review some of your submissions for that in just a little bit. And now we've got Hannah and me. For the next 2 hours, we're going to be talking about Adobe XD and design systems. And so, thank you guys for being here with us. And we're gonna take a look at that challenge. Actually, are we doing that? Are we looking at the challenge? Anyway, I know we're going to be reviewing some submissions and stuff in about a half hour. So, Hannah,
Yes.
For the people that were not here yesterday or just love to hear you talk about yourself, because I know we always love to do that. It's our favorite thing for sure. Let's go ahead and take a second, just kind of like talk about a little bit about yourself for sure, and then kind of what we went over yesterday and a little quick recap, and then we can get cracking.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Adobe Live, and some of you welcome back. My name's Hannah. I have been an Experience Designer for about 8 years. As you see in the photo, I recently graduated from Parsons School of Design with a Master in Design Technology. And I moved to California from New York City 2 days ago.
So crazy. We learned that yesterday live.
Yes.
I was just like, what? That's crazy. So awesome.
And I'm starting a job at Apple in about 3 weeks from now. So I'm super excited for what we're going to do today. So for yesterday, we talked about how judgmental we could be as designers sometimes. And sometimes we do it on our own work as well. So we took a look at one of the projects that I did 2 years ago for Magnolia. So I redesigned their e-commerce website and also designed separate pages for their business branches, like their offline market, their journal, and book publishing, a lot of different business branches.
Yeah, they have a lot of properties under that name, right? Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yes, and also I designed their iOS app called Magnolia Home. So yesterday we did design review on quite a few pages that I designed for Magnolia, and we had a discussion on how we could improve each of them, and we came up with some awesome design ideas. A lot of them were contributed from the chat, and
absolutely, everybody was really active and like giving great points on some of that stuff. It was awesome.
Yes. But we didn't get to do wireframing because there were a lot of conversations, like thoughtful questions asked to us. But I think we'll be fine because this is a redesign. We're not going to change the whole structure of any of those pages.
Not starting from scratch on this one, which is helpful.
Yeah,
cool.
So the information structure is quite clear. There won't be too many like super complicated interactions. So we can just dive directly into visual design today. We'll be fine.
Sounds great. Yeah, that's kind of where my experience lies. I do less with UX, or have done rather, and zero with coding the actual thing. But visual was where I specialized. So I'm really interested in seeing your take on some of this stuff and how you accomplish some of those same thoughts that we were kind of going over yesterday, and how you make those actually happen in real life in XD. So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, cool. So as you may remember, so the goal today is to finish the silos page, the Magnolia Journal page, and the homestay page. So as you may remember that those are actually quite different pages.
Right.
They're like, each of them is like a mini website, you know? And in real life, if you spend 2 hours on each of them, I won't be surprised. It sounds normal, you know? But how much time do we have today?
We've got total of 53 more minutes or less with where we cut off. So yeah, we're gonna really be. Did I say 53? I was 53. You know what I mean? About 2 hours, all right? And
about 2 hours.
I think we can do some serious damage on this thing. For sure. Yeah, I like it.
Yes, so we have a really tight deadline, but we have a magic tool that we're going to use today. It's Adobe XD's design system. You guys will see, and let's find out together how this could help us improve our work efficiency.
And you get tight deadlines sometimes, right? So, I mean, this is like real life experience where like, okay, we need this yesterday. Like, let's get on this. How fast can you get this to us? Those catchphrases that clients love to use. And you can't always do it, but sometimes you can with the right tools, right? So let's take a look. There's several comments about how we need more laptop stickers, and this is going to be a recurring theme, I feel like. So as long as we keep using our personal computers on here, it's going to be something they're not going to let go. And we've got some exciting things to happen around stickers in a little bit. But for now, let's dive into this thing. I want to see XD really at work.
Cool. Let's start working. Oh, and also, I won't be talking as much as yesterday, but please keep in mind that this is a co-design live stream, so everyone is responsible for the ending result.
Yeah. If you don't like it at the end, it's not Hannah's
It's not only my fault.
She's just working the levers. It's you guys and your input that's going to be really, really crucial to the success here.
Yes.
Cool. So we are in XD, and now it looks like we've got almost like some documentation here going on here. What's this here?
I just prepared a little bit. I made a to-do list. Basically helps us remember what we did yesterday, like all those problems that we want to fix. Probably we won't have time to get to design the blog, but we'll find out.
But if I remember right, that was the one that we kind of, everybody generally felt like that one was in pretty good shape right now. Okay, cool. So that's good. Yeah, I feel like we can, that one would be less time consuming to kind of do afterwards and figure that out later. Cool.
And also we're going to design those web pages on mobile screen, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Jay says, does Adobe XD work with Windows Server? Do you know that, or Paco, do you know?
I don't know.
Not sure.
Works with Windows,
Works with Windows, so
that's awesome.
One would assume. We can find out that for you, Jay, for sure.
Cool. So as you can see, I have put together a little stuff for our design system that we'll be creating today for Magnolia Home.
Cool.
So just to make it clear, design system, the technical terms are changing all the time.
Sure.
So it's very similar to what we used to call like a UI guideline or a branding guideline.
Okay.
Usually it includes, a color palette or different font styles, H1, H2, and some reusable assets like the buttons or like a text input field or like a drop-down menu, all this stuff. So we're not going to use this. This is for Magnolia's old website, and Magnolia Home is completely different.
Just delete it. Oh. It's like Gave me a shiver.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
That's right. You gotta out of the old. You gotta just cut ties.
Yes.
Fresh. We're on to the new.
Also, as we're designing for mobile screen, and it's very important for us to take a look at what it really looks like on the real device.
That's right.
So
That's true.
because it looks different from your laptop to the real device.
Sure.
So I will be checking my phone from time to time just to
So
make sure.
you've got this
it
just
looks
connected with the USB from your computer
Yes.
to the phone.
Yes.
And then the changes that you
And-
make are what's the delay on that update on that, or is it real time?
It's real time. Super cool.
tell
You
you
have to
what.
download Adobe XD on your phone though.
Okay, right. So it's got a mobile component that you can get on the
Yes.
phone that just lets you do this.
And you're good to
so
go.
cool.
Yes. So let's start with the menu. So in Magnolia Home right now they only have a online market portion.
Okay.
As you can see, shop by collections, and those are different categories of
Yeah.
their online market. So where do you guys think that we could put our 3 pages into this menu?
Okay. So they're not there now, right? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, when we're near the end here, I know you can't see the phone that she's talking about, but when we get to a place where we're feeling really good about it, we'll show the phone a little bit later and how it is a fully interactive, usable mock-up basically of this design that she's created. So stay tuned for that part. That's going to be sweet. And yes, definitely keep asking questions. Thanks, Voodoo Val, for chiming in on that. And we will try and get as many of them answered along the way, while supporting her being able to focus and get some good quality work done. Since we are on that deadline, right? We've got to really cram this in and make some magic happen here. So
Yes.
cool.
So Ryan, what do you think? If you're the designer,
Yeah.
where are you gonna put those?
Man, okay, so we've got home at the top. That seems very important to live there. Now, so we've got garden, lifestyle, gifts, paint, and sale currently. I feel like these things that we're putting in are pretty important ones too, correct? Would they live in a drop down of one of those existing things there? Okay. I see you have plus signs, so I feel like some of these are expandable.
Yes. So this is actually a very tricky question because in real life you may need to have a conversation with your manager to figure
sure.
out what the business strategy is for this redesign, what the goal is, because mostly the online market is the most important component of this
Okay,
business
sure.
because it generates the most revenue. And those pages for different business probably could work as like an attraction to get people to
Sure.
this online market.
Totally.
So we want to add those pages, but we don't want them to actually compete with the online market. So your thought was correct.
Yeah.
We want to, somehow put them into a drop down or something.
Okay.
But we still want to keep those collections here.
Yeah.
But I saw that there's some confusion. You saw home, maybe you thought it was home page or home screen.
Yeah, or
right?
back to the thing. Yeah, I was
So,
totally tricked.
yeah, that's
Like,
probably
take me to the home,
Yeah.
to the top level domain. I don't know. I'm
that's
just saying
probably
catchwords
something
now.
that we should reconsider.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Maybe
Yeah, at least in the
another-
context of a website, right? Like,
Yeah.
that is a perfectly reasonable branding decision because that's what the products are for, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, like maybe main or something there instead of home. I don't know. That seems a little formal, but something.
Yeah. So in order to make it consistent with the website, we can just call it Inside Magnolia.
Okay.
That's what the website
Yeah. I like that.
does. Inside Magnolia. Is this in the middle? Okay.
Ragurai, sorry about pronunciation, asks just really quick, did you build your portfolio with WordPress, Wix, Squarespace?
Yes, WordPress.
WordPress? Cool. A lot of options in there. A little more freedom to kind of do more fully what you want if you're a competent web designer than some of the other platforms that are maybe a little more geared towards people who know less how to do that stuff on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wix is kind of big right now.
Yeah, they sponsor me, so.
Oops.
Okay, Sarah says she's seen a lot of shops use shop home, like so to shop home. It seems like maybe it might feel a little detached if you didn't put like shop garden, shop lifestyle, and that would maybe get a little busy. But I don't know. It's a good idea for a possible solution for kind of solving that that semantics issue of like being confusing on a website, right?
Okay,
For sure.
so now we have this inside Magnolia, which could work. We can put all our 3 new screens into this drop-down menu, but it's somehow like a little blend into the other collection names. So maybe there's something that we can do to make it stand out just a little bit to show that it's kind of unique from the market, but it's not that different.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So what we can borrow the idea from the website, which they, let me show you guys quickly. You see, they have like inside Magnolia, they use this very like soft, very curvy font in front of Magnolia. Let's try that out.
Yeah, a little italic to kind of be like a, almost like a signifier of like something else, like a categorization of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
So
Magnolia.
oh, inside Magnolia. Let's leave this right next to it.
So Redo asks, what is Chat and Win countdown? That's a good question. If at the bottom of the screen you see this Chat and Win countdown that is quickly approaching the final 10 minutes, what that means is that when that timer runs out, we are going to do our Chat and Win, which means that if you light up that chat with comments and stuff, and I'm gonna give you some kind of cue as to something to comment, maybe a suggestion for something Hannah's working on at that time, or a question or something, and one of you will be chosen to be the winner of that.
Wow.
And we're talking about 100 free Sticker Mule stickers today. That's right.
Cool.
Several of you know exactly how this game goes, and that's awesome. That means you guys are regulars, super fans, and I love it. And maybe, since you guys have so many comments about our stickerless computers, you can hook us up and share the wealth with your 100 free stickers and design something really cool. So yeah, coming up soon. Hardly 10 minutes left.
Awesome. It's a shame that we cannot join that.
Right? I know.
100 stickers.
So cool. It's a lot of stickers. I can't think of 100 people that would want my stickers. Maybe.
Okay. The silos.
So this is just moving right along. I love how you can kind of grab all those menu items and just, kind of shift that whole menu so you can really kind of keep things in line with the spacing that you've decided is right and everything, and not have to try and like squeeze things in too much, and you can kind of shuffle it around and make what you need to happen. I mean,
the whole like design style of Magnolia Home is like you need a lot of space to breathe, like a lot of white space.
It's good. It's good design. I like it.
So yeah, I forgot to mention that the main font that we're using is called Brandon Grotesque.
Love it.
It's awesome. Super clean looking. Yeah.
I really like the G's of Brandon Grotesque, personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the silos. We're creating a drop-down menu for this inside Magnolia drop-down. So I changed the font into a slightly smaller size, and just to differentiate the secondary menu to the main menu.
Yeah.
What I love to do is to just, change the opacity.
Sure.
So that will give us a nice gray to work with.
Instead of trying to find the right colors and stuff, just keep the color the same and mess with the transparency, especially if you've got that simple white background. That works great.
Oh, right. And
so Sarah's talking a little bit more about the home issue that we're kind of chewing on right now. And she's saying that you could also be more specific, like shop decor or shop furniture. And I think that while that's a good idea, these things are almost like kind of branded departments of theirs, right? So like home is like a line of products, and garden is a line of products. So it's kind of like too important to replace with, more contextually helpful things probably. So another great idea, maybe not the best solution for this specific need, but we're thinking now. That's an important part. And that's, the biggest part of doing this kind of thing. Like, yes, we can all get this software and we can all, learn how to use it to great effect. But if you can't think of the good ideas, then it doesn't matter what you can plug in there. If it's going to be a terrible experience for the user, then you're kind of missing the point. And Ray or Rai, R-A-I, doesn't help me get any better at pronouncing names. But it says, it's amazing to see that she knows all the typefaces. Pretty good. It's a big part of it, whether you're thinking more interaction and experience as far as what you're focusing on for a design problem. Knowing at least what a good quality typeface to use is very important for whatever your ultimate key goal is.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do right now is to give like a very subtle gradient, white gradient color here. So just like indicate that there's something hidden, because we want this secondary menu to expand, but we don't want users to have to scroll down to see the full menu. So we just push the content up a little bit.
All right.
And it will be covered by our logos. So here what I'm trying to do is to, put a ingredient overlay, gradient overlay here.
So the logo stays on top of all that.
Yes.
But all that menu above, instead of the drop down literally dropping everything below it down, it makes the contents of that right under your finger still. Is that the idea? So you don't have to like move to go where your thing went, but it kind of comes to you. That's really smart. I like that a lot. And then, you can't just start hiding logos. Like, that's not good for business. So.
Yeah, and let's save this font style.
Alexandra says, "Oh my God, you guys, I love Magnolia. So awesome to see you working on this real project." And I think a lot of us are familiar with it. It's really cool that, we've got somebody here who actually did work on something like this cool of a project and can actually get in and actually mess with the real moving parts of something that would be something that a lot of us would probably very likely use, right? If we're fans of the Fixer Upper shows and the people behind it and their awesome little company that they've started or started beforehand, I don't know exactly, but and making their product better so that we can all enjoy using it even more. Pretty sweet.
So I saw Jessica is asking, how can I do a gradient text? Do we do gradient text? I won't
do we
that.
As designers? Well, we talked a lot yesterday about inclusivity, right? Inclusive design and accessibility. And I think that that's always something very important to think of when we're talking about things like color and how it's applied to text and background and stuff to maintain a very readable and accessible layer or level of contrast, right? Because if you get too transparent on some of those submenus, or you get too much of a gradient happening over a text, it may be fine for many of us, but there's some people that is going to cause a real problem with being able to make those things out and to read that and to be able to navigate properly. So in general, unless you're talking about maybe like a big bold headline or something, applying gradients to text is typically not something that's going to provide the best experience overall for the user, regardless of who they are.
Okay, so now we're done with the menu. It's
amazing.
Simple.
Yeah, I mean, you got all that while I was talking. You were just working along over there and just busting it out. I love it.
I hope you guys can see this on your screen. This is like a very light gray background. I love using light gray background.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the color here is F4, F5, F5. It's not straight gray.
Okay.
So it sort of gives you a nice touch of a little bit of color, so it does not look as dull as a pure gray.
Okay.
So that's a tip there.
I like that tip. Yeah. No, I think I hear a lot of people say, like, especially illustrators and stuff, that like their their work really comes alive a lot more and has like a more kind of like a more tactile feel if they do it on like a just an ever so slightly yellowed background, or like, depending on if you want something warmer or cooler or whatever, like a little bit of a cool gray like that, or a warm gray instead of pure gray, or especially white. Like your illustration on top of that just feels less real that way, and then you get a little bit of like just a subtle hue under there, and you get something really cool. So nice tip, Sam says. I agree.
Thanks.
Somebody else said too. Somebody was just commenting on the gradient text thing. Like there is a way to accomplish that if if you see like a really strong need for it. Sure, you can kind of convert text to path, fill it with a gradient, things like that. But yeah, definitely always think user first on readability and accessibility and stuff, for sure.
Grad.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Asked how do I figure out the space between elements? So usually it takes a lot of back and forth. You have to try to move this up 2 pixels and down 2 pixels, and just kind of feel the difference between the two versions.
Okay.
But as you are getting more and more experience, you can probably know what's the space that you want to use.
Sure.
So I like to use like a 30, so in between those are like 30 pixels, I believe. And between the text and the icon is 10. So those are like the numbers that I like. I think that it works for me, but you have to just try it out. Just move pixel by pixel.
Sure.
And observe.
I love those round numbers too. Feels right?
Yes.
Cool. And so I think a lot of that too, like in a menu like this, for instance, depending on how much stuff you need to fit in that single view at any given time, you got to think about like finger targets, right? Like if you have to tap that with a finger, if it gets too close together, then you might be able to fit more content in there, but it's going to be harder to tap that specific thing and get the accuracy that you want people to be able to do. And that's another cool reason why having the phone here connected, so you can see it and you can actually use it, especially as things get more developed down the line and you start putting the interactions in, you can kind of see whether that is enough space to work properly, right?
Yes. Now I see maybe we want our secondary menu to be a little bit lighter.
Okay.
So
the text itself?
Yes.
Okay.
So we can just go ahead and edit the character style on our system list.
Yeah.
And try to get that down a little bit.
All right, well, she's grabbing that gradient. It is about time for our chat and win, guys. We've got 30 seconds, so get ready to let those keyboards really get to work and start flying and getting that chat super live. Let's see. What do you guys think is... What's the question I want to have you guys ask or answer? Let me think here. I don't know. Why don't you just tell us what you're going to be making your stickers of when you inevitably win? Let's do it. Let's get this chat cracking, and let's see who wins these 100 Sticker Mule stickers of your design.
Hey.
And then how interested we're going to be in putting one of those on our computers.
Do we have a winner?
Who's my winner? Let's see who's getting some stickers. Make a logo. I'm going to put the stickers on all my devices, phones, laptop, TV, etc. It's a lot of devices. You got 100 stickers. You might have to buy more devices. We can't help you with that, but put it on my bike. Cool. Yeah, I think we talked yesterday about how my kids' bikes are covered in all the stickers that I get from friends and stuff, for sure. So it's good. It's a valid place for a sticker. Skateboards too, for sure. Winner. Hey, Jake Mapalo.
Congratulations, Jake.
Congrats. Let's see what you're going to do with them.
Are you there?
Comment in there. It goes so fast. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. I'm a design community organizer, so I want to share it in my talks. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, that's a great. I don't know. I go back and forth on like business cards, for instance, and how useful they are to me as a designer who mostly never leaves his house. But stickers are kind of a cool thing because a business card is maybe pretty likely to get tossed in the trash at some point, at least after they get my contact info saved, hopefully. But, sticker can be a nice leave behind for somebody that can have your information and also be something they might keep. For anybody that participated that did not get named Jake by their parents, you can still go to stickermule.com/Adobe Live 19 and you can get 10 free stickers. So something for everybody. I think I'm gonna do it later.
Awesome.
I got some ideas. And they're all gonna go to my kids and we're gonna have 5 of each of them on each of their bikes, I think probably, but it'll be fun.
Cool. So now let's move on to one of our longest page, which is for the silos. The good thing about this page is it does not have like complicated interactions. It's mostly for just displaying information for Magnolia's offline market.
So that's kind of like pretty straightforward and just kind of deciding what it looks like and less time consuming thinking about all the important interactions and how to make that experience the best, right? Okay, so that's cool.
So we can remove this home indicator for now because we're making a super long page. But for people who are designing an app, especially if you have like a bottom tab, you have to really be careful about this guy because it takes a lot of space.
Oh, sure.
At the bottom.
And it just kind of floats over everything, but it's hiding things if it's,
I actually got my source file for Magnolia Home opened. It was a PSD file, but luckily Adobe XD can open that with no problem.
I did not know that.
So just in case if we want to use some elements from here. So I was thinking, how should we make the page title for those pages?
Sure.
And there's one style that we used before. We put Magnolia's logo on top and the page title at the bottom.
Okay.
So I guess we can, keep it consistent and use that style.
I see that old time in the center of the top of the thing too. That's not something that's gonna work anymore. Now, is this that brings me to a pretty important question. Now, do you typically design specifically for a certain type of phone or a certain type of platform? Like obviously, you've got your iPhone connected. You can't just design an iPhone app and then have that work on everything. You are designing them for specific purposes. But how often do you find yourself designing for the other ones too, or do you?
I do, but it actually depends on the requirements from your client. If they're like, just do whatever you think, we just need a mobile design.
Sure.
And usually you just go with what device you have because it's easier for you to test it out. You don't have to, go purchase some devices just for testing. But if you own a business, then do it, right?
Yeah, more important for that. There's plenty of companies that just choose to not support the other thing, which seems like cutting out a substantial potential audience and customer base. But for certain things that's not like a website or like a shop, then other things that might make sense for to just kind of put your effort into one thing or the other. For you on the other hand, it's definitely makes more sense to do the one that you can personally test with, and not most of us don't have one of each, right? So. If you got an iPhone, use the iPhone and design for it so you can figure it out. Because that top stuff of the screen is some of the less important things as far as like solving the big design problems, right? So
it's easier if you're designing a website because you can always just resize the browser and see what it feels like.
Yeah, and nobody's got crazy shaped browser windows necessarily.
We don't use Internet Explorer anymore. I remember back in the days we have to consider that.
Yeah, that was the zone that I was in trying to learn things, and it was just like, here's how you do this, and then you do this, and then like. If you want any hope of it working on Internet Explorer, you got to do all this crazy stuff. And I was just like, okay, maybe I don't want it to work on there. I don't know. But at the time, it was important to accommodate more. Yes, we would love to see some stickers that some of the other ones have made. I saw some comments in here saying a few people had already used that Adobe Live 19 link at least once. And so, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, we'd love to see some of those stickers that you've used them for. We kind of never get to see that end result of what the winners and the people that just use the general link have done with those. So
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Cool. So I am drawing a separation line. I like to use light gray separation lines a lot, and my favorite color code is E8, E8, E8. So it
easy to
looks,
remember.
it's visible enough, but it has a very clean, light feeling on the page.
Sure.
And we're going to make it a component, so we can keep just drag and drop on the page. We don't have to draw it every time.
Okay.
And if you want to change the color later, you change the master one and everything else will be updated.
That's so cool. So it's kind of like a global color in Illustrator or something where you can kind of set that, use it in a bunch of places, and then if you want to see what that looks like with a slightly different color or a little tweak here or there, a completely different thing, it changes it everywhere, right? That's pretty cool. Super helpful for like repetitive UI design or something. Not repetitive, that sounds negative, but you know what I mean. One that reuses a lot of elements in that system, right?
Yeah.
Wink says, I love how calm Hannah is while she redesigns, right?
Thank you.
We're talking and I feel like we're having a conversation, and then I look at the chat for a minute, and then I look back and the whole screen's different because she's just killing it over here while being engaging and responding to all my ridiculous questions. So cool.
So yesterday we talked about that we did not like this notification style too much. So let's try something different on our mobile device. Let's make it smaller. Maybe a little closer.
Okay, Josh says they're gonna share their stickers in the Discord when they arrive. So they are en route, apparently. Very cool.
Cool. Okay.
Speaking of the design Discord, we do have, in a little while, we've got this next countdown over here that you'll see in the lower right corner, design feedback countdown. So if you are an experienced designer or visual designer or whatever, if you use an XD and you're participating in the daily creative challenge that Sam was talking about earlier, you can submit those designs in the Discord, and I've got it all ready to pull up. And then when that countdown gets down, we're going to take some time to review some of the things that you guys have submitted from the design challenge. So if you've got those and you're making some good progress on that, we would love to see those. And if you want to get some awesome advice and feedback from Hannah, I think that would be a really smart move for all of you who are aspiring designers, getting started, pros, whatever. Sometimes I learn the most from feedback from people who are kind of looking at something from a fresh perspective, right? Like especially with the lettering stuff that I do, sometimes some of the most powerful feedback is from somebody who's like in the midst of learning everything, and they're just kind of really reading the documentation and reading the resources and stuff right now. Whereas with me, it's been a while maybe since I've kind of looked at some of that stuff. So sometimes you can get the best feedback from people who are kind of just learning themselves. So we want you to send those things, and maybe we can get inspired by those and give you a little bit of feedback as well. So, do we live stream every day? I don't, sadly. But Adobe is here like all the time, and it's crazy. But they have chosen to invest in that, and it's just so amazing. And everything goes live on replay like almost immediately after, maybe immediately after. And so you can just watch them in perpetuity. I was getting ready to come here this week, for instance, and I was here last fall, and I was able to just go grab those links and share them with the people so they could kind of watch the several hours I spent here last year as well, just kind of doing some lettering and having fun. And it's awesome. They just live there as a huge library of awesome resources from really talented people.
Cool. So what I'm working on right now is redesigning the banner of this silos page. So we were talking about, how unfriendly, inaccessible it could be to put text overlay an image. It has a very high standard for the image that you're going to use. The photographer has to be really good.
Sure. Yeah, they
and
gotta
be aware.
Consider that stuff, right? Yeah.
So what I did was I put this image into Photoshop, and I used that, fill with content aware.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I filled it with blue sky above.
Huh.
so that we can put white text on it with no problem.
Nice. So where ideally you would have had a photographer that framed a shot to give you plenty of nice background space for any potential text.
Yes.
You just kind of like, impersonated the photographer and made their photo a little bit better with some of the wild magic that Photoshop can do with like extending crops and stamp tools and whatever. You can really pull off some pretty impressive fixes for some things that are maybe not as ideal as you'd like for them to be. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Elmadi says, does Hannah have an Instagram? I was just wondering the same thing. I heard you say it yesterday and then I couldn't find you.
Yes, I do. I forgot my ID though.
It's all right. We can talk about it later.
Not very
Totally
big
fine.
on Instagram because it was blocked in China.
Right. That's
yeah.
a good point. That's crazy.
So I tried to put what Magnolia Home is currently using, the button style. You see, it's like a hand-drawn stroke.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So it's actually from one of their product lines called the Paint. It's a line for paint, and we love that style, so we used it as a button.
That's
but
really cool.
it doesn't seem to look too good on this image.
Playing less well, yeah.
Color is a little off.
Great on white, but okay.
Yeah, so let's just make another button design for this, for our new screens.
Cool.
Yeah, I love to use 45, the number 45.
And where was that? 45 for what? I missed it.
The height of
Oh, okay.
the button.
Button height.
Yes.
So she likes 45 pixel button heights. That's a good. That's a tip. I mean, like you find things that just work, and then if you find yourself right in that same zone time after time, it's just like, you know what? Why not make that your personal standard? There's nothing saying that you need to try and do something different every time or whatever. Like if that feels like button height to you, keep using it. I like it. Joss was saying I was going to suggest making the image cover the whole screen, side to side, like a fill.
Yes.
But I think it looks great the way it is. I
So
agree.
that's another thing, because we're trying to make it consistent with the Magnolia Home style. What they have is like a perfect square image, and they always have this nice space on both sides. It should be, and this one is on 2x scale.
Sure.
Now we're all working on 1x, so it will be 15/15 on both sides.
Interesting.
Yes.
And depending on your monitors, but we've got that interesting thing happening again where I was looking up here at our screen and I didn't even notice that wreath photo had a background. I thought it was white. And
it was
so
not,
I couldn't
yeah.
tell whether that was full width or not, and it's not. So this matches up and really brings that consistency into it, which is more important than trying to utilize more of a great photo or something. It should be the same. And I agree. I think it looks great right there where it is, and kind of like really aligned with the width of the text and stuff too, which is great.
Yeah, we can try to make this text match our blue sky.
Fancy. Well, eyedropper.
Cool. So what's next?
Now that looks good in the context of this page, but do you ever try and just ignore that and keep everything really consistent, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's usually what I do.
Sure.
But today we only have this page that has a notification on top.
Okay.
So,
So that could be notification color for
Yeah.
as far as we know. I like it. What theme or web page builder did you use on WordPress? Everyone really likes your portfolio, I think. Is that,
well, thanks guys. I purchased the theme on themeforest.com, I believe.
Okay.
They have a lot of very nice themes for about 50-something bucks.
That is one thing about WordPress for sure. Like there's like an endless abundance of of themes that you can find because they've been around for so long, right? That there's
Yeah.
just literally countless.
So what the website have right now, they have Experience the Market as like a title of the section. I kind of like that. It's not like a traditional, like it's just one font, a big and bold font like this one for
Yeah.
every section. So let's try to do something like that here as well. We have our H1 style ready. Experience the Market, right?
I think so, yeah.
Let's type the market and let's use Oh, I forgot to add this to H1. So it's another style. H1 white.
Okay, so you're a pretty good labeler. If anybody watched my live stream earlier, I was just like throwing all kinds of weird layers in, and I'm the worst. I don't label anything. But I work a lot in analog still these days, and I kind of use Photoshop and Illustrator as like almost like a logistical tool in a lot of cases to really like speed my process up. So I'm kind of it's just for me. The client's not getting that file, so nobody sees it but me. And I'm usually kind of like in and out of there and stuff, so it's not usually a problem. But there are times when I've tried to be more neat and careful about it, and it's a hard habit to get into, but very important, especially if you're going to be working on it with other people, right?
Yes, that's super important to name your layers. And like if you want to do animation later, they have this super awesome auto animation, but you just have to be really careful with the...
Got to know those names. Everything's got to be really carefully called out and named specifically. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Okay, so I'm happy with this. Style, experience the market. 30.
30.
Let's copy the text.
Yeah, I really like that. That combination of their of that headline font with the italic kind of special signifier or whatever, like the other level of it, it looks really good together.
Thanks. So,
isn't it amazing what the font can do? Like you get that text copied in there, and it's just like, wow, this feels very inelegant with like whatever the default font was, and then like you get the right thing applied. It's like, oh, there we go. Yes. I can read now without my eyes bleeding.
Let's try to figure out a body font. So I think the biggest problem for Magnolia Home, the current app right now, is their font is so small. It's my fault, but yeah, it's really small.
Whose decision was that? Well, it was mine, but
yeah.
Yeah, it is a little small.
So let's try to increase the body size a little bit. Usually on mobile, we do not go below 10 points, but 10 points is like really, really not important text that you use 10.
Sure.
So usually it should be above 12, 14.
That feels very small, yes.
Because
10.
the font that we're using, the X height, which is like the letter A, the lowercase letter A, the height of that is super small compared with their like full size letter.
Interesting. Okay.
So it looks smaller than it's supposed to be.
So it's kind of measuring that based on the caps, but then like the
the
difference between the caps and the X height is like really large.
So
gotcha.
Fonts are different from one another. You just have to keep in mind.
Truest words you ever spoke.
Okay. I think.
Redo says Walmart. Totally. I think their products are in Walmart. No, maybe that's the commentary that Magnolia. I was like, Meridian Market. What am I talking about? No, yeah, I think their products are maybe in Walmart. I don't know.
In Target.
Target.
Yes.
I don't even know if that's
what
they were talking
before
about.
I moved to New York, I had no idea that people know Magnolia. So
Oh, really? So you thought you were kind of like working on this little like...
It's just, all right, it's an e-commerce website. And then I was walking on New York Street and I saw a bus stop advertisement of Chip and Jo.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're kind of famous here.
You're like, oh wait, I'm kind of a big deal. I'm working on something kind of well known and
I saw
huge.
their product line Target. I was like, oh my god, this is a big project.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, hopefully you got a correct and fair budget out of them.
I know.
Even though you didn't know how good they were.
Yeah.
I kind of got sneak attacked by a large search-based text company by reaching out to me through Dribbble one time and not saying where they were from and asking if I could do some t-shirt designs. And then I was just like, oh yeah, sure. I usually charge X amount of money for it. And then they were like, all right, cool. You want to take this to email? I was like, cool. And then they're like company email addresses. And I was like, ooh, got me. I would not have charged that for this company.
But you're doing the same work,
That's right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I understand. I totally understand.
Yeah, Alexander says Magnolia is everywhere. That is for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
When they told me that you were coming and that I was going to be the host for you, I was just like, oh, yeah, I'm very familiar with what she's working on now, and that's really cool.
Okay, so we're going to use square photos through the site. So we're going to make this a component as well, just to make it easy.
Okay. So that is not going to be a component that is the same image everywhere, though. You can
easily
use it like
just
a frame?
drop your new image into this frame.
Cool, and that doesn't like go back and add it to all the other components of the same kind? Cool. Nice. Oh, man, I tell you, I know I've said it a bunch of times, but you guys, if I had had this, honestly, I may never have discovered lettering as a thing that I was even more into, because I would have been like getting a heck of a lot more done in UI and UX design at the time, and probably enjoying it a heck of a lot more, because the way I was doing it was not as enjoyable or smart, that's for sure.
I mean, back then, yeah, the tools are just not as smart as when you have to make some changes, you have to just go to every page and try to find them and make the changes.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
Or like make all the perfect decisions at the beginning, and then you can copy and paste those things. Because that's happened ever.
And sometimes you do responsive design, and when you make some change, oh my god, it's like a nightmare. It's like 50 pages that you have to update.
That was right in the time I was working on this stuff. Was like all that was becoming. You either do this now or you're totally irrelevant, and I was like just trying to learn the basics at the same time. I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just be irrelevant then, or find something else. Julia Roberts got arrested at a Target because she tried to steal Magnolias. Wow! I didn't see that coming until I got to the end of that sentence, Kerwin. I appreciate that dad joke there.
Kerwin? So yesterday's winner.
From yesterday. Yeah, that's right.
Welcome back.
Kerwin won the stickers yesterday.
Cool.
Back for more inspiration. Josh said they never heard of it, but they don't live in the U.S., so that's fair. And then Ray said, I guess I'm the only one who doesn't know Magnolia. So per the comment directly above you, you're not the only one. But also, this is a pretty niche thing, even in the U.S. And I only say that to mean like it's very familiar to anybody who's like shopping in like the home goods department of like a Target, or watches a lot of like reality DIY type TV, which is a lot of people. And so all those kind of Venn diagram of interests are very familiar with it, but a year ago I was not super familiar with it, and I've kind of come to recognize who those actual people are, Chip and Joanna, like that. I didn't know anything about them before pretty recently myself, but as with anything, especially in America, if something gets popular, it kind of just seeps into the into the overall culture, right? And you get a base level of familiarity with a lot of these things. Whether you could actually tell somebody about them or not is a whole other story. But yes, familiar with the name, familiar with those faces, that kind of stuff. So you're not too alone, and you don't feel bad about it.
Cool. Remember we talked about how the food truck list has like a small arrow in front of it, and we thought it was interactive, but it wasn't. So we're not going to use that today, apparently.
Smart. Yeah, if you weren't here listening yesterday, we were looking at those arrows on the web version of the site, and we were talking about how that is a very commonly used tool to indicate a link of some kind, right, or some kind of interactive element of a page or an app. Yeah. And it's a great way to signify that kind of thing if you don't want to put a big underline under the text or make it a different color or whatever. But the thing about this was those were not interactive elements, they were not links.
Yeah.
So it was kind of tricky, and it kind of confuses people. And even if there's nothing there that they're missing, or it's not that the site's not working properly, it it confuses people and makes them think that maybe there's something wrong with their version of it, or it's a bug or something, right? Like they're missing out on all this great content that's behind those links that aren't actually links. So if you kind of eliminate that confusion, then they kind of, just instantly default to believing that this is what it is, and I'm seeing everything, and I'm getting the right experience that I'm supposed to.
You just simply replace the arrows with a small dash. It works.
Perfect.
Everyone knows it's a list, you know?
Yep. Unordered list. Easy.
Visit the garden. Cool. I like this image. It totally works with text overlay.
Yep, simple. Get some dark text on there, and it's perfectly framed for it. Love it. But on the website, that's a huge horizontally oriented landscape photo. So I'm curious to see how that plays in this smaller environment. If you're going to see much of that, let's see how that looks. Oh, wow, that's pretty good.
It's just like this.
That's the focus of the photo, and it fits perfectly. How about that?
Perfect.
It's almost like you've done this before. Pretty good.
And we're going to use black text overlay.
And that would be a pretty easy one too, to kind of do like what you did before, where you kind of faked it a little bit and extended the sky on that one so you could get that space, and you could really easily do that with this one. Because there's some color there, even though on our screen, again, that looks like totally white, perfect background. But yeah, either way, that would be really easy to fix if you needed to, but this one, it's perfect. Love it. A little over 30 minutes until the challenge feedback deadline. So if you're doing the UX design challenge, guys, send those submissions in.
Left?
Before the design challenge,
I see.
we're gonna give some feedback and check out some of those submissions. We've got about an hour left, so you're good. No pressure. Although I've seen numerous comments about how calm you are in this, and that's very. She's just. You can tell she's done this at least a few times.
I'm not alone. I have you guys.
That's right. She's like.
And I'm not the only one to blame.
That's right.
I already had a disclaimer
remember
at
that,
the
you
beginning.
guys. Yeah, remember, this is not all on Hannah. If this ends up being weird or wonky or doesn't work,
It's Ryan's fault.
that's for sure. Usually that is the case. Ask my family.
Okay.
A lot of very, very interested conversation around WordPress plugins and the specific name of your theme. So, not that you need to remember it right now, but they love it. So that's good. You're doing something right. You picked well on Theme Forest or wherever it was from. Is there anything in this world which is powerful and free at the same time? That's a great question. And then the question is answered by meditation. Good point.
Good point.
Yeah. Doesn't cost anything. Except
Do you do meditation?
I've tried.
I can't.
Yeah. What's your problem with it? I fall asleep.
I just think about all these things.
Yeah,
I just can't keep it clear.
Can't detach from the
deadline that is
turning.
coming in an hour.
Which is exactly what we need meditation for.
Yeah.
Hugs are powerful and free. Corwin said that's right. Also, those 100 stickers are free and they're going to be super powerful for you. I'm sure that you won yesterday. So there you go. Treat yourself.
They have a bakery at their offline market.
Here,
The silos.
doing it all.
I know.
Magnolia to the max.
They have Realty and oh my god. They published quite a few books already.
Yeah. If they got a bakery, I mean, cookbook's got to be on the way. Val says her meditation is watching Star Wars. I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me.
Wow.
And also with me. Stickers are already shipping to Kerwin's house. Wow, that's pretty cool. From yesterday.
Oh, wow. What kind of
I don't know.
service they're using?
That's pretty good. And they must have already had a design ready to rock. They were like, you know what? I'm going on here. This is my day. I am going to win this chat and win. I've been chatting. Now it's time for some winning. I'm going to get these things, and I got the sticker ready to go because that is fast. The restaurant is a 3-hour wait, Alexandra says. I'm guessing we're talking about the Magnolia thing. I didn't see anything else about restaurants, so that's pretty crazy.
Oh, they have a restaurant. I don't know either.
Well, I think maybe, was it this like baking company? Like maybe you can eat there or something? So I'd be interested to see if that is what she was talking about.
So, okay, we came to this difficult part that we have like 1,000 different font styles here.
Right, that's right.
That's
I remember
something that we have to clean up.
Yes.
Let's try.
Okay.
Do it.
Oh, Magnolia Table, Alexandra says, at the Silos. So it's like a restaurant there.
Oh, that's a
at
new
Silos.
thing. I saw they have a new page design.
I haven't
for
been
that.
keeping her up to date. How's she supposed to design the page right without knowing about the table? It sounds like Texas. We got some good barbecue in Austin. Arguably some of the best. Franklin's is one, and they start smoking things in the morning, and you can get in line, and you can wait several hours, but they only make so much every day. And then once they run out,
I hate
they're
people
out.
who do that.
I know. It's an interesting marketing tactic, right? You create that scarcity, and then sometimes, I mean, it feels like it could maybe be a turnoff, especially if you're like a nobody trying to like create this fake scarcity and demand for your thing. But on the other hand, sometimes it makes people want it even more. And in a place like Austin, that's actually a smart move, because I feel like San Francisco would be similar in that if you tell some people they can't have something that they want, it makes them want it even more. Like, I gotta have it now. I'm gonna go stay in line for 3 hours and then hope to get some. There's literally people that wait the whole time and don't end up getting any because they're out, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Rudy's. Alexandra, I'm with you on Rudy's. That is a lot easier to get, which is crucial, and also still really good. It's really hard to find bad barbecue in Austin, for sure. But
So what ideas that we came up with to solve this issue? Of course, we have to clean up this area
Right.
a little bit. And also, we were talking about maybe we could make the map interactive somehow, but we cannot use hover because it does not work on phone.
right. Yeah, because we were talking about kind of like making some of this information below that feels so detached and makes you kind of scroll back and forth, a part of one interactive element. And then the first thing that comes to mind is like a hover, right? So you hover over this part of the map, and it does this pop-up tooltip type of thing that gives you that information that you would otherwise have to scroll for. But as Hannah spoke from experience yesterday and brilliantly pointed out, oh right, we don't have hover on phones. That's not a state you can really have, at least not in any way that seems intuitive at all, and usually looks accidental if somebody tries to pull that off. So how else are we gonna do this? I feel like we need some kind of button scenario, or I'm gonna go ahead and jump on a limb here based on what you're doing right now and think that we're gonna be talking about kind of like a tabbed, almost like a tabbed table type of situation down here.
Yeah, that's the idea, because we were talking about the parking and the trolley and safety. They're all actually related to this map.
Totally.
And we can definitely show some highlights when people are. For example, like I'm creating a tab button here. So first one is for location and hours, and second one will be for parking, and third one for trolley. So when they are on that tab, we can show like a highlight on the map. So they can, at the same time, if you can see on my screen, they will be able to see both the map and the information below that.
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
So
it's like they don't have to interact
down.
with the map, but it's going to give a sort of "you are here" indication on the map for like the thing that's relevant to that tab that you're on. I like it. So then you're also, another important thing too is we're not just dealing with the information that's down there detached below the map. We're also including kind of as a same part of this area, that stuff that was over the map as well, since we kind of cut off that whole left side where that location and hour stuff was before. We can kind of focus on the actual important part of the map and put that information kind of alongside the other stuff. I like that a lot. Very cool. Does anyone like Indian cuisine? Yeah. Can we get it a little spicier, please? Don't usually need to ask that in an Indian restaurant, but so good. We've got some good Indian restaurants in Austin too. I do believe. We don't eat that as much as a family, but we're lucky. Our kids are incredibly well. What do I want to say? They have a very developed palate, if you will. They love sushi. They love Indian food. We get poke all the time delivered to our house from a nice place that's nearby. And they love it all. It's weird. I definitely didn't have that. I was way pickier as a kid. I love it all now, but it was kind of like a shock and like a delightful surprise to know that we could like go to sushi and get some great food without having to like leave the kids at home or something, because they love it too. Question for Hannah from Kerwin. It seems like UX and UI evolves and utilizes new tech and techniques so rapidly. How do you stay on top of it all to keep yourself relevant?
Well,
great question.
Keep an eye on Dribbble and Behance because those platforms are really up to date. And for websites, I like to check a website called Awards, awward.com.
Yeah.
They always have the most beautiful websites selected there, and you can sort of see the trend of website design currently.
Yeah.
Remember when the full screen image background was so popular and it's like all over the place.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You can really quickly get a finger on the pulse of like what is like really resonating with people right now, for sure. And you can spot the trends right there. And sometimes that is in answer to the question specifically, like the new techniques and the new, styles and whatever, that stuff is going to bubble up in those things too. But at the same time, we've been talking a lot about balance the last 2 days, right?
Yeah.
Like you also have to be careful that you're not doing something specifically because it is popular or because it is going to be well received on Dribbble
True.
and Behance and Awards, because that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right solution for your client, right? So like if we've got an app like this where you have some amazing ideas for some of the awesome pops of color and full screen imagery and animations and stuff that would just like kill on Dribbble, right? People would love it. It'd eat it up, you'd get all the hearts. But for a company like this where their whole brand is around this like simplistic, kind of rustic, but also very clean and elegant looking kind of stuff, wouldn't be the best fit for them, right? So something like this may not float to the very top of some of those feeds as being the trendiest, hottest thing right now, but feels like the right thing for the client, which is always wins.
Yeah.
So,
and also I feel like the minimalism style is always in trend.
Yeah.
Like everyone's saying, oh, we want simple and clean.
Yeah.
Simple and clean.
Always in trend, or maybe a better way to put that would just be like timeless, right?
Yes,
I mean, this is going to be something that is specifically not trendy, right? It's something that is just solid design. Plenty of space for things to breathe, the right kind of spacing to make things legible and clear as far as all the information. Because these are some pretty information-heavy pages a lot of times too, right? We've got a lot going on here. And solving for that in a way that is beautiful visually, but then also very useful and usable is really good too. Can you list some of the useful plugins for XD? You kind of seem like you're just really just letting loose on just kind of like using the basics and to great effect, I think.
Yeah, I'm not big on plugins because I feel like it's very complicated to figure out.
Yeah.
You have to learn about how to use it, but I'm sure you can find some maybe YouTube videos talking about useful Adobe XD.
Or past Adobe
I think
Lives,
the basic
right?
functions works well for me.
Yeah, and like I said, you're doing it to great effect. I mean, it's clear that you're solving these solutions and you're making things that are spot on without the need for them in this case. And there may be other apps that you have to design that some of those plugins could be a huge time saver, right? I was watching Sam earlier before we came on, for instance, and we've got a map on our screen right here, right now, right? And he did something that I was just like, oh man, if I had had that or anything like that or any of these plugin type of things. He like literally just did a map plugin type of thing. I think that was a plugin. Sorry, I'm a letter artist. I don't know anything. But like he was working on like talking about the design challenge today, right? Less than 20 minutes, by the way, to get your submissions in. But it's all about doing an automotive navigation screen, right? Which is super map heavy. And if you're trying to focus on maybe the general UI of that thing and how those interactions are focused on, and you're not designing maps, then being able to figure out all the other solutions for everything as far as like space on the screen and whatever, and not have to worry about finding relevant map photos or screenshotting maps and whatever, and instead you can just plug in a map for the location you're talking about. In this case, he typed in San Francisco. Boom, there's a map of San Francisco. Pulled right in there, done, moving on to the next important problem to solve. And like, I was just like, oh man, and now we've got a map on this page. But in this case, a map plugin would not be helpful because we have some very specific important information on that map. So
yeah,
it all depends on what you're trying to solve and what makes the most sense for what's gonna work in that space. And at this point, we need a special design map that has some pretty interesting things. Otherwise, there could be some absolutely time-saving ways to use those plugins for sure.
Yeah.
What? She just typed in a hex code for a color? She knows the hex codes? Word.
Yes.
We have some favorites, right?
We do.
You mentioned your favorite, like, kind of cool gray earlier. And
F4, F5, F5, E8, E8, E8 for separation line.
that one is interesting to me because that's like your kind of gray separator background color, right? Okay. So one of the brand colors for my studio, I wanted to use almost a white for a lot of elements, but I didn't want it to be white. Because it didn't feel right. It felt too white for using alongside the other colors that I decided for the brand. And so I went with E8, E6, E4.
Ooh.
And so it kind of warms that up just a little bit. And also I like that it's 864. So it's easy to remember, right?
Yeah. And sometimes I just try, the year was born like 90, 90, 90. And it's like a nice medium gray that you can use for like a time for a blog post, like the gray text for that.
Your metadata stuff that's like,
works.
You don't want it to stand out too much, but you want it to be there and accessible if somebody wants to know it. Joss loves FF6347. I'm gonna like open Photoshop right now and see what it is because I'm curious now. Let's see. Another fun hex code story. So when I first started my studio, for a minute while I was trying to figure out what it was going to be and how I wanted the branding and stuff to go, I started with a much smaller color palette of colors I was going to use, and it was basically a joke because I found out that the hex code ABCDEF is a very nice light blue color.
Oh, really?
And get this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is a very similar dark blue color, and they work awesome together. And so I designed the whole website in those two hex codes, and it worked great together. And I decided ultimately to not be so desperate with how hard I was trying, and I did something else. But that was very cool, and the colors worked awesome together, and I felt like, in the end, the amount of people that would like dig in and see and appreciate that were very, very small, and probably just me. So, good to know.
I think they're like a browser plugin. Then every time you refresh, they give you like a set of colors.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So like you can kind of get a palette from something that you like. That's
just
cool.
Randomly pick a color for you.
Oh yes, and that is actually how I ended up finding the colors that I wanted. And actually, it has been scooped up by Adobe, actually. It's called Color. Are you guys familiar with Color? Color.adobe.com, I think, right? Let's see. I'm gonna go to it over here.
Okay, so right now I finished the part of location and hours. I would like to think that it looks cleaner than before.
For sure. And it's hard to tell at that size right here that it has so much more going on than it should, but here it feels like familiar, but definitely cleaner.
Yeah.
And it all fits in like a screen's worth of the page, right? Like I feel like if we're on that, we're gonna see it all. It's not gonna be too much, even though there's a ton of information there, right?
Yeah. And I think
Joss put in colors spelled like with 2 O's, like kind of a cool color portmanteau. And also says they always use F7, F7, F7 for whites and 262626 for blacks.
cool.
Something
Everyone
really
has
great.
their favorite color.
Yes, there's something real great about a nice, solid, memorizable. That's not a word. Memorable, I guess, is all. Easy to memorize number. How about that? And yes, Ariana, grays are good. Grays are great. Neutral for life. That's my motto. If you've seen the way I've been dressed this week, it's evident of my lifestyle. Black and gray. Joss's favorite color, I think I said earlier was, they just said I love, FF6347. I think I said that out loud already. But in CSS, it's called tomato. So yeah, bonus if you can get a favorite color that you really like to use that you can just put a word in for when you're coding, right? Do you do much coding yourself?
Not too much.
Not too much, yeah.
Just learn a little bit.
I try and avoid it as much as possible. But I mean, knowing what is possible there and what, how that structure works and just kind of knowing some basic ground rules totally changes the way that you design things, right? So if you have a crazy idea that's just basically impossible to code, then that's not super helpful, as pretty as it may be. Whereas some of those things that are really kind of snazzy, special ways of doing things with code can kind of give you great inspiration for a way that could look on the other side of things too. So kind of working together, having some communication between those design and development teams always makes for a better result if you guys can kind of tag team it.
Yeah, it's important for UX designers to learn a little code because you will know what's easier to make when you have to compromise, tight deadline, what's easier to make, what is not. And also you sort of just think in a way, in this way it looks awesome and it's easier for the developers.
Win-win.
So,
yeah,
win-win.
Exactly. I know I'm thinking back, now that I do know a little bit more about code, and I don't know much, but I could technically build an HTML and CSS website
if you want to.
If my life depended on it, maybe. It would be very simple. It would have no JavaScript or any interaction really at all. It would have links that would be workable.
Hello world.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I have coded all of my own email signatures, which I am very proud of myself for. But that's about the extent of it. But just even knowing that and thinking back about how I was designing the BlackBerry Twitter app that I did, that kind of got me this taste of design that led me on this path to where I am today, and a totally different focus. Just thinking about what I know now about that and how difficult I made it for my developer partner that somehow made it all happen. I had no idea what he was doing on his side, and I didn't care enough, that's for sure, because I was just doing what I thought looked good and just said, deal with it, buddy.
Okay.
This whole idea was mine. You get to just make it, or I'll find a new partner. And I wasn't that mean. But.
So we get to the bottom of the page, and yesterday we were complaining a little bit about how big those thumbnails are, and
who made those anyway?
They're on smaller screens, they won't be able to see the whole thing.
Right.
So on mobile, my mouse just got disconnected. It's super old device. It still uses batteries. The
the
AA batteries.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, on mobile, we probably don't need those thumbnails.
Right.
Let's just put, a simple pagination icons, not icons, dots
so.
here.
Yeah, I call them icons, totally.
Yes,
Your pagination icons.
And just put 2 arrows, make it clear that they can either swipe or...
Oh, that's a good point. So...
click. Usually,
I'm always confused by
Yeah.
UIs and like whether I should swipe or whether I can or whether that's gonna take me back
yes.
a page.
So usually those kind of interaction is hidden
Yeah, right.
because you cannot assume people will know that, even though you put a pagination here. So
right.
you always need to add a secondary, obvious indicator how people could interact with this.
Because even though that first one's got that darker color, which to me immediately says, right, this is the one we're on, right? But I mean, that's a pretty subtle difference of shade between those two
Yeah.
for great effect and consistency or whatever. But if somebody couldn't see that contrast as much,
True.
that might look like a handle maybe, or something that they could like pull down on, or who knows what. So that arrow is going to be really helpful to say, okay,
Yes.
here's the way you want to go, guys. Cool. Beck says, just want to say, Hannah, that your design of the app is very nice and well done.
Thank you, Beck.
And does anyone notice, Ray says, that in Instagram's chat window, heart emoji should be repositioned. When I try to tap send, it tends to insert heart emoji. UX problem. I've been having a thing where if I try and tap some of those emojis along the thing that it gives me there, which is really helpful because they're always like the most recent ones, and I use it a lot, but if you tap just slightly outside of that, just above it, they may have recently just fixed this, but for a minute there, a couple days maybe, it was closing my comment window and discarding it. And so I'd have to retype it again. I was very frustrated for a few days, at least, if not still. So, yeah, they're figuring it out, I guess. But
Hopefully.
yeah, I do like the it being there, though. Functionality needing to be approved or not, it is helpful. Less than 10 minutes before the challenge deadline. Thank you, Val. That's right, 7 in fact. Lucky number 7. Who's going to submit their design challenge submissions for feedback? I am really excited to see some of these things.
Yeah.
And yes, the thing I was talking about earlier, we were talking about hex codes and stuff.
Yes.
Color.adobe.com. It used to be a company called Color with a K, I think. And then Adobe was like, that's pretty sweet tech that you guys have there. We're gonna, come on in here. We're gonna make this Adobe. Adobe, or color.adobe.com with the C, regular color spelled now. But you can come in there and you can do all kinds of fun things. Oh, I've got it pulled up here. Thanks, Paco. We've got all these things over here. We can do different kind of color harmony rules. And again, I may have mentioned this on my previous live, but like I didn't go to design school. I know nothing about color theory, and so I work in a lot of black and white. That point aside, this is really,
Is that
really
why
helpful.
you always wear black the whole time?
Oh well, so I can no, don't get it twisted. I can put an outfit together with some colors if I wanted to. I choose not to. But in my work, I sometimes don't know what the best color would be to use on something, so I default to black and white because that always looks good. But
Yes.
some of the cool stuff in here is like if you don't know anything like me about this kind of stuff, you can do a few things where you can choose over here like monochromatic, where it kind of takes that same hue and lines up these selections like this. And so these are all different shades of the same hue. You can do a triad and it kind of splits those up. So you get some complementary things in here, right? And you got like things on the green side of the spectrum and then purple. And the cool thing is if you move these guys around, watch this. Woo! So now they stay opposite each other and complementary to each other. So you can get some things that just by default of the nature of those colors and how color works, you kind of get this complementary thing where you see this a lot, for instance, in like sports teams colors, right? Where the contrast and the opposite kind of nature almost of the colors that are put together just really pop, and they really make something that really stands out, which, for like a sports jersey or something like that, that's really kind of the goal, right? So you see that a lot happening there, blue and orange, right? Denver Broncos, Florida Gators, whatever, I don't know. I'm really not a sports person either. But this is pretty cool. So you can kind of come in here and not have to know much about these things and really kind of figure it out. Shades, again, you can move that anywhere, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the thing that was really helpful for me was something like Explore. So the color of the year this year, was that still this year? I don't know. Living Coral
Oh, that's really
was
nice.
at least the color of the year. Oh yeah, 2019. Okay, cool.
2019. Yes, last year was purple.
Right, ultraviolet. That's right, I remember. For somebody who doesn't know anything about color, right? I'm doing pretty good. But yeah, I mean, you get all these cool palettes that you can download that contain that living coral and are based on it, and then also some photo inspiration along with the color. Look at that. So like you come over here, this is a really cool photo. Let's see if I can like open that. Oh yeah, cool. Hip young girl with old analog camera surrounded with smoke. Thank you. Sounds like one of those Amazon titles. iPad case, 12.9 inch black with adapter, soft cloth. Yeah, SEO titles are hilarious. But you can come in here, you can copy the hex codes for each of these guys. You can add them to your library, download as an ASE file, right? For just dumping right into Photoshop to use in your project. Super convenient. And then I think, where's the one that I really used heavily here? Let me see. When we come back to Hannah's screen, you guys are gonna be totally shocked, as I am. But so cool, this thing is awesome. You can really get in here. And you can kind of save some of these. And right here I have alpha assets on mine because that's this is kind of where I started with finding my brand colors. Pretty cool. All right, enough of my color nerdery. Let's go.
Okay,
Holy
so
cow,
when
look
you
at
were
that.
talking about your colors,
Yeah.
we completed our sales page, which is the longest among the three.
I think you cheated. This is not realistic. How did that happen?
It's magic. So after finishing this page, we have like a very nice system built up already. We have the colors, dark and light. We have pretty much all different style of the fonts that we'll be using, and all these elements that's all reusable on other pages.
That's so huge. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's
And we're
so
talking about
convenient.
design systems. Like this is like the brand toolkit, right? I mean, we've got the colors that we want to use to stay consistent all throughout. Even everything down to the shapes of the photos, right? You talked about we're gonna make all these photos squares. How do we do that? Make a component of it, and then every time you do a photo, it's the same thing. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Minute and a half to get your design submissions in. Looking at you guys, Chatty Chattertons. Get in that Discord. I want to see it. I want to see your awesome experience design work.
What's the theme today?
So they're doing the maps thing for
cool.
automotive navigation screens. Really challenging. I feel like nobody is really doing that well. I haven't seen, no, not in here, not you guys. I mean car manufacturers, right? Like their navigation screens. It's kind of a hot mess. I mean, I haven't seen all of the cars. I only have one. And depending on where you live, maybe you don't have any, and this is like not a problem for you. But I mean, for me, everyone that I've had has been like, it's left a lot to be desired. You know, CarPlay is cool when you get, when you have that. I bought, or at least my Dodge truck, the model before they added CarPlay, so I was thrilled about that. So I don't have that myself, but my wife's car has it, and it's okay. I feel like the rest of the system is weird. It doesn't have a touchscreen, which is very strange and seems not intuitive. So how can we do this better? You guys are gonna be the answer, I think. Lana says it's great to see an expert at work, right? Less talking, more working. Yesterday was very talk heavy. That's
Almost
okay.
there. Design feedback. Countdown.
All right, design feedback time. Let me get in this Discord here. Okay, so current challenge. Let's see. Am I in the right spot? Yes, I think so. Okay. I'm just gonna scroll down to the bottom. I am at the bottom. Great. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, Joss. Okay. I'm thinking that this is. Nope. Good windshield picture examples. Thank you. Okay, I think he was just kind of posting some things in there to help somebody else, it looks like. Okay, I'm getting with it, you guys. Okay, so, Jaydeep, this is my day one post. Let's take a look. Oh, we've got it. It's a video. Let's see. Let me see if I can make that a little larger. go back to the beginning. So we got a 4-second animation
wow.
of what we're looking at here. So right off the bat, there's a lot of work that's gone into this, for sure.
What screen is this based on?
So this is, what's that?
Car.
Yeah, like for like a car interface for
Cool.
a map. So we've got a live view of a navigation happening, right? It's taking a left after 500 meters. So let's go with that. I didn't play it. Okay, play. Okay, so that's kind of, we got to that intersection, it looks like. We started out kind of like...
Can you play that again?
Yeah, it's very quick. Okay, so we start there. Our car is over here, and then it kind of, this is the next step. When we get to that intersection, this changes in this way. So let me go, I'm gonna start it again, and I wanna watch on the left side now where it's giving us our instruction, how that changes.
Cool.
Okay. So our next thing is gonna be that our destination is on the right. So, first thing that jumps out at me is this left arrow. So, totally understandable that could be, like we reuse elements a lot sometimes, and every once in a while you see that thing that you should have mirrored or whatever. But I like the design of it. It's very simple,
nice.
right? Clean,
Yes.
and that flat design is working, I think, for sure.
The home button is quite visible.
Yeah, no mistake in that guy.
Yeah. The only concern I have is the green color. So when it's white on green, probably is a little hard on eyes.
Sure.
And when you're driving, you cannot be really focusing on the screen, right?
Yeah, for sure. And in my experience, like looking at a screen in a car, if it's sunny out at all, it can be real weird, right? Like regardless of how clear you can see the screen and what the color combination is, sometimes you can't see anything, depending on the contrast or the brightness setting of your screen, all these things. So a bright color, while looking at it like this, seems like a nice color.
Yes.
It's great. Contrast of white on green, maybe not 100% ideal, but you get that in the context of like a super bright outdoor screen, and it's it could be not the best thing. Maybe black background with white on top of it would be like the contrast that you need to work everywhere.
I think Google does use green sometimes,
There's a
but
lot of
it's
green.
more like the traffic board.
Yes.
That's that green.
Street sign green,
That's
right?
nice,
Yes,
yes.
absolutely. So darker, a lot more of like a less saturated green, right? So, and it looks more saturated on here than on the actual design. So it's a little muted, but maybe even a little more and a little darker would be like really spot on. So, but cool, good job.
And also I have one question because I just got my driver's license and don't know cars a lot. So the home button is supposed to take you where?
So that's probably like home in reference to the menu of the interface of
The whole thing.
the unit itself,
I
right?
see.
So like we're in the Maps application of that system, I'm guessing, and then that would take you back because we got phone there. We got the button on the left there is probably for where we're at now, right? And then volume and power.
Cool.
Or maybe it's hard to see, it's hidden. Maybe it's a help thing.
So from what I can tell, it is similar to the parking purple there in the map.
Okay.
So I would say probably avoid using what's in the map because we really want to, is for a car screen, we really want to make it super obvious that this thing is separated from the map. Probably use a color that can stand out a little bit more. But other than that, I think it's really nice.
Sure. Yeah, and there's
Very
like,
clean, yeah.
it does tie in, but maybe that's not what you want because maybe the home is like, navigate me to home. Or something, like that too. The combination of the color and the icon and it tying into what's on the screen could be like a little confusing possibly. So good call, good point. All right, let me see if I can get out of here. What else we got in here? This is my first time using XD, Nick says. So any feedback is very much appreciated. So let's see what he's got here. Okay.
Cool.
So we just got an image this time, totally fine. And we've got kind of like it looks like, at least if not exactly, a very close to split screen here, right?
Yeah.
We've got kind of like plenty of room on the whole left half side.
Yeah.
Maybe less than half just by a smidge for all your information, right? And then I think still plenty of space for seeing the actual map in the context of where you are and kind of where you're heading the next couple steps maybe. So that's all good. What's your feedback?
I'll say this is really clear, like what you are going to do next step. Maybe you can try to make it slightly smaller. just because it takes so much space.
Right.
And I think you probably, I mean, I know you guys don't have much time working on this, but
Yeah, this is probably
in
done
real life
in the
you
last
probably
hour.
want to, yeah,
Right, totally.
you probably want to do some user testing on what font size is the perfect
That's a good
for
point.
this scenario.
Oh.
But it's so clear.
Val said you can use the link above it and use it as a prototype. Okay. Oh, right here. Let's try that. That makes more sense. I like that interaction better. Thank you, Val. Appreciate it. I'm new. Bear with me, chatties. Okay, okay, cool. So, got it. So now we're in here. Let's see if I can do anything here. Aha.
Oh, it's
So
interactive.
we've advanced to the next step. Okay.
Cool.
Cool. So then, like, that thing that was on top has disappeared because we accomplished that. And on the actual path there, we got
Yeah.
to that intersection and turned right, or south, if you will.
It's nice.
Yeah, and now we're kind of going down towards our eventual location there.
Yeah.
Does it have another step? No. Okay. Cool. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty good. One thing we mentioned, like the sizing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned user testing, which is like a really key element of this, right?
Yeah.
Because we can test it all day long, but you know, we've talked about inclusive design too. Like what seems to be perfectly fine and works
Yeah.
and seems spot on to us may be problematic for somebody with a different experience than ours, right? So if you get a really wide and varied group of people with different backgrounds and experiences and needs to test these things, you find out all kinds of fun things that you didn't think of because of it working just fine for you. And so that it comes in big into play with user testing. That's awesome. Also, just about the size of the arrow in relevance to the type. As a type focused person and thinking about balance and everything, you want kind of the overall feel of the weight of those things to kind of feel optically balanced. A great tip for kind of getting that more in line is kind of to squint your eyes. I know this seems weird, but like with anything, with type, with whatever, things where you have like similarly colored elements in the same space as type, if you squint your eyes a little bit so you can focus less on the actual characters themselves and reading them, you can kind of see what stands out as like a very heavy area of that overall thing that you're looking at. Also, sometimes looking at it upside down can help because it takes you out of that mode of trying to focus on reading it and more into the mode of seeing them as shapes with different varied weights, right? So you can kind of balance things a little easier that way. So yeah, try that too, to kind of get something that feels a little bit more just kind of aesthetically balanced and pleasing to look at. So, but good job, especially for your first time in XD.
Yeah.
Pretty great. So let's see, we got anything else chilling in here? What do we got? Create challenge, okay. Who else? There's a link to the actual challenge. And that's fine too. I mean, if you guys haven't had much time to work on it, that's definitely true. So I'm sure that throughout the week, they're gonna get more and more involved and people have more time to work on them. So I can't wait to see what else is happening in here. But great job, you two. Nick and Jaideep. Excellent, very quick solutions for some of these things. It's a very difficult problem, right? I feel like I was saying, I feel like nobody's really knocking it out of the park with this stuff from the ones I've seen. I think Tesla does a pretty good job, maybe, but I mean, they're just kind of like making the screen bigger, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's like when somebody asked me to make the logo bigger. I'm like, well, that's not what you want. But yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, this is a really interesting challenge, just, you know,
For sure.
for us as people participating in this Adobe thing, but also that the world's dealing with right now, right? This is a thing, navigation's been around for 20 years probably, or more, I don't even know. But they're still figuring it out. It's not great yet. So there's definitely no standards, really. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing with it, so that kind of makes things interesting for sure.
Good
All
job,
right.
guys.
Tom says, wording is hard today. Let's see, let me get some context. Okay, Tom says he would also consider the map arrow to go rather up, like moving forward than moving down. Okay, also is safer than the user maybe looking more down on the map. That's a really relevant point about map orientation too, right? Like in most map apps on your phone, you can have it set to always show like true north. So it's kind of like every time you look at the screen, it's north is up and south is down, right? But when you're doing step-by-step navigation, it's kind of great to have your view behind your car, right? Or you're behind where you are on the map. So you see everything as moving forward, right? So that's a good point. That one was kind of showing it just north and south on the map. Whereas in step-by-step navigation, you're probably going to be viewing it from the perspective of where you're going. So good point. Somebody wants to see a fully automated prototype. Me too. It's pretty cool.
In 1 hour? Come on, guys.
Yeah, it's pretty. That'd be pretty impressive.
Yes.
Those people are probably actually working on the map apps for companies that are paying them to, rather than hanging out with us. Unfortunately, we're not cool enough for them. I don't know. We got Magnolia Designer over here, so who knows?
Maps are really difficult.
Yeah, that's a major challenge.
So what I'm doing right now is trying to use the design system that we just built from designing the silos page and use them on our journal page.
Okay.
So of course we use a square photo. I did the same thing in Photoshop. You know, filled the
Nice.
upper space.
Wrinkled sheets. We can make that. We can
Yes.
Make that stretch. I like it.
And we want to keep this title style consistent. So I added a title for this section. They don't have it here, but I just put a title there, a word from Joanna, because there's a paragraph that's her words.
Okay.
And below that, we will have Contact Magnolia Journal, which we had a critique on yesterday
yeah.
because they have so many different email
It's a little all over the place. That's
Yes,
right. Yeah.
it's a little confusing for users, so we're going to clean that up.
Cool. And not least of which, that alignment was wacky on there. I don't know what you were doing. But.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a bug. It's a bug.
it's a bug.
It's fine. Can't be held account for bugs. And also, you guys were helping us. I don't know where you guys were at. Should have saved Hannah on that one so she didn't look so silly with that weird alignment. That was live in the website. I don't. Yeah, nothing to do about that. Hola.
Hola.
I was gonna pronounce that name and I backed out.
Yeah.
If it's a Spanish name,
Either.
Osgur? I don't know. Sorry about that. All right, I'm really, really anxious. Not anxious. Anxious is the wrong word. Anxious in the good sense that people don't usually use it in. I am excited to see how you solve this wild communication problem. So those icons there, I haven't noticed those before.
Yes, so those I prepared in advance. Those are icons from Magnolia website. I didn't design those. They had an icon artist working on those.
Cool. I like how they look kind of like they're made with like a real textured like Illustrator brush, and are a lot of them. Some are way more detailed than others, but some of them, a lot of them are like kind of simplistic line drawings where like you just
I like those.
drew it with the one stroke.
It has like that texture, but it's also simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in making logos like that, or not logos, but icons like that, or logos, I mean, some of those could double as logos depending on what you're branding. But that kind of style, if you just like get a photo of a phone, hard to find a photo of a phone like that these days, maybe, but or like an envelope, right? And you just go into Illustrator, and you take one path and trace the outline of that, kind of try and see if you can go around all the details of that thing with one continuous path. There are all kinds of just built-in brushes in Illustrator that you can go in and like some of the ink and calligraphy brushes especially that I'm familiar with. You can literally just go click on one of those with the path selected and it'll apply almost an identical look to those icons along that whole path. And so if you've designed this icon in like a single stroke or even a couple or whatever, you can quickly slap one of those cool brushes on there with the size variation and the texture to it, and then create something that is just like that. Looks like a totally hand-drawn icon. Or you could use something like Adobe Capture, right? You could get on a piece of paper if you're an actual like pen and paper artist, and you can draw those things out using like a brush pen or even like a paintbrush or something. Do it large even if you want. I don't know, you get more detail that way. And you can use Adobe Capture and it'll bring that sucker right into your Creative Cloud library. Cool. And it's vector and it's easy to just like dump it into anything you want, infinitely scalable, all from your simple little drawing on paper. Pretty sweet. I don't take advantage of that enough, I gotta be honest. Especially for what I do with like trying to recreate a lot of that analog feel and texture and stuff. Like I'm doing a lot more work than I need to sometimes, I feel. So getting in this zone where it's occurring to me now, all these amazing things that I have at my disposal every day and I don't, I'm not taking enough advantage of. I need to like get with it, you guys. Help me. They are nice, Ariana. I like them. Great icons, everybody loves it.
Yeah.
Is this a custom font? It doesn't look like the serif font on the Magnolia website.
It's Adobe, one of Adobe's font. See
Garamond?
This font. I don't know, say that.
Let me see.
Devanagari.
Oh yeah, sure. That sounds good to me. Devanagari.
Devanagari.
I've seen it. I have not tried to pronounce it.
Yeah.
I always read it in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, that D word. I don't.
Yeah, so we're actually just
nice.
been using two different types.
Mm-hmm.
One is the Brandon Grotesque, and one is the Adobe Devanagari.
Works for me. Yeah, no, I mean, two fonts, right?
Yes.
Pretty good. We're within our range that we achieved a unanimous consensus yesterday of 3 fonts max, or else you're doing too much. And I think that Adobe font, Adobe D, we'll call it, I think it looks great, like alongside the logo type.
Yeah.
I mean, at least at the size, especially, like it seems like it's totally fine. I like it. It's doing it for me. Oh, and you colored the icon. I missed that as I was talking about how to make something like that, but that looks nice. So it's kind of like the same color that you pulled from that photo. Is that right? That kind of blue?
Yeah, this is our primary color. This guy.
Yeah. Okay.
5D guy.
Oh, so you just.
Basically, you just choose the icon and just put color in it.
Wow.
Just like this.
Oh my gosh. So good.
Technology.
Love it.
Seems like we will only have time to complete 2 pages today.
Okay.
Silos and Magnolia Journal.
But that's a lot more than none. So
yes.
I feel like
so
pretty good.
I feel like I'm flying here.
Well,
I don't know about you guys. But
we started out, you said like 2 hours per page is kind of like a thing
like
that you would have a goal
rate.
for, and you've made 2 in less than 2.
I guess
or 3.
it's being a little ambitious, but this is super. Actually, I'm being very efficient now.
I think so. Especially for me talking your ear off, dude, you're killing it. And very calmly, we all agree. Love it. I'm so inspired to go like think of app ideas now. Like I am not interested really in like even trying to pursue doing this commercially ever again, probably, but I feel like there are definitely some things, some apps that I would be really love to be able to use.
Like what?
Well, I was talking about this last night with some people, and I think that there's a little service that I use that's browser-based that instantly sets whatever you type into a field in every font that you have on your system.
Oh, wow.
And it shows them all on the page. And it works really great, and it's awesome, especially for if I'm like kind of like stuck and I can't figure out or think of the right style of letters to convey the message that I want to with this brand or with this advertising or whatever. And just instantly being able to see that word or that phrase or whatever in every font style that I have on my computer, which is many. I could see it all in one spot. You can click and filter certain ones. So if you're scrolling down and you see, oh, I like that one, I'm gonna select that. I like that one, I'm gonna select that. And then you can filter after you've gotten through all of them and then kind of just see those together. And you can start to get a feel for like, okay, I want this brand to really say, elegance, or I want this to feel powerful and strong in some way. And if I'm not exactly sure what way I wanna go with that, I can kind of set it in everything, see them all together, and I can pick and choose and filter out even the ones that I feel like don't say that to me. Because especially when you're starting out with doing something like what I do, it's really hard to know what styles mean different things to people or what things feel a certain way until you've done it a lot. And sometimes just seeing it Val's on it. That's exactly the one. Wordmark it. Wordmark.it. Thank you.
Cool.
But I thought about like how cool it would be to have an app that kind of did something similar that you could kind of like plug some things in. And I think with the new iOS update, you can install fonts on your phone and your iPads. So that'd be pretty cool to be able to do, get the same kind of font collection you have on there and utilize some of that same helpful technology to kind of do that in an app that maybe is a little faster or has more features or something like that. So I could see myself coming up with that idea.
Cool.
Like I just did.
$1 million idea.
And now one of these guys is going to go make
everyone.
it. Ryan, come on. Be smart. Right, Ariana? That's pretty cool. I share that guy, and I don't even remember how I first found out about it, probably in like a design newsletter or something, but I use it all the time. And I always share that in workshops and stuff, and I'm like, if you want a little inspiration of where to start and what styles to start playing with first, try this. And everybody's like, oh my God, free. It's crazy. It's really cool. Flying over here. So we've got a big email icon now.
Yes.
And we can just put those links underneath it.
Yes, just make it simple,
Yep.
If you have general inquiries, click that link if you want to do advertising on this journal.
And I feel like there's no confusion about what those links are. Those are email links. As you can clearly see under that icon.
Should be very self-explaining.
Yes.
And
send a letter to advertising.
We cleaned up this layout for phone number and time based on what we used for this hours. So everything is consistent.
Very nice.
Yeah.
2 minutes left. Hannah, what are you thinking? What else needs done? Oh, I know what we need to do. Can we take a look at the phone and see what it looks like on there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
so we're gonna try and point a camera at this thing real quick so we can kind of see what we were talking about earlier and how helpful it is to be able to see this stuff in the context of the size of your phone.
Is that phone up to date with the latest build?
I think so.
Okay, so as long as you tell XD to use the most recent version, then we just plug it in and we can see it on the screen.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So we're actually gonna be able to pull it up on the screen.
It should be fine.
And the cool thing about this is too, we're designing these full-length pages that are obviously way longer than the height of a screen, right? But even before you get all the interactions built in and the movement between pages and all that stuff, animations, all the amazing things you can do, you can just simply see what it looks like to scroll and how much of that design is showing on the screen at any one time, because that's really important, right? Knowing that you can see all the relevant information in the same view is a big thing to be able to see, because that's an important design style.
Oh, cool. Wow, look at that.
Now we're talking. All right, now we're in phone mode here.
Okay,
cool.
So you guys can see the menu that we just designed. We didn't get time to prototype, but
okay.
it's
Yeah,
super...
we got the spacing right. We can see clearly that this is
should be super
a great
easy.
layout and it fits perfectly.
Yes, and this is a expanded version of the submenus for inside Magnolia. The 3 pages that we were aiming to design today, which we completed almost 2 of them. Yay! I already feel like I worked 200% faster than normal.
I'm wildly impressed. I was like, okay, well, 2 hours. I don't know how much you could actually get done in that time, but dude.
Yes. So this is the silos page. As we scroll down, you can see we basically took all the heavy text off the image.
Yeah.
Only left the title there.
I like that a lot better.
Redesign the food truck list. Visit the garden. Silo baking. And
this is like the
session.
biggest experience improvement, I feel like, of the whole thing right here. Maybe is this map with the tabbed
yes.
descriptions and information below, because yeah, it worked out great. Look, we can see pretty much everything on the screen at once that we need.
Yeah,
and
this is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
You don't want users to scroll up and down to get the
It's
information they
annoying
want.
real fast, right?
Yes.
Make you leave real quick. So,
Yeah,
well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Thank you, Hannah, for coming and showing us how awesome you are. And we look forward to following your work along the way as well, and some of the more awesome projects. And good luck at Apple.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.